Record.
Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you at our Heat Team Zoom call, and we just love our team. And I'm one of the national marketing directors. My name is Sandy Abrams-Tavola, and I love Nikki and Chris, and just love that we can join together most weeks and have speakers some weeks, and tonight is no exception. For those of you who don't know me, just really quickly, I will say that I've been with the company for quite a while, and I've never been so excited about where we're headed. One team, one mission, inspiring healthy living, and this is just such an exciting time, and there's so many lives to change. And I was in Florida a few weeks ago, and I met the most amazing lady. Her name's Carla Grebing, and she was in Florida also. And she is a national marketing director under Don Rathman. And Don was training a bunch of us national marketing directors, and I was just amazed that here this national marketing director has been trained a lot from the best, Don Rathman, and she was still there soaking up more training. And it was a lot of fun. One of the things that I love about Carla is how she knew when to take things very seriously. She's very passionate about what she does, but she also can have a lot of fun. And we were getting ready to go to the airport, and I probably would have just gone to the airport, but she was going to take a fun speed test drive in one of Bob Samara's cars. And I didn't want to be left behind when she invited me to go with her. And we had so much fun. And so I love that about this lady. And she has come from a world where she had serious health issues for many years. And she was brought to a point to having to examine her life, starting with nutrition. And she found our company, and she has found a way. Now she has renewed her health and her life, and now lives a life of service. And she's going to talk about how she did that one piece at a time, and how she helps her team build one piece by piece. Carla?
Sandy, thank you. And yes, we did have a fun, quick ride that day, didn't we? Yes. Well, thank you so much for asking me to join you this evening. I just want to start out by thanking you for this opportunity, because I don't think that enough people know yet about options. And so tonight is really just a story. It's my story. I am not a medical professional. I have a background in actually promotional products. I've owned a couple of small companies. And as Sandy said, I was brought to a point a few years ago that I had to take a really long look at my health. But I do want to just talk to you a little bit about what I've learned about health and putting together things piece by piece. So I'm just going to show you this. And I look at this, and I've got to be honest, these pictures are kind of hard for me to see. I don't share you're only the second group of people that I've ever showed all of these pictures to. And so the first piece of my puzzle is that I've had poor health since I was 14. I had rheumatoid symptoms, and yet no one could ever properly diagnose me. And so you see there, see those toes? My kids used to call those scared toes, and they would be red and swollen, and they'd stand up like kind of sausages there. And then you see the top picture. We would document things in photos, because a lot of times by the time I got to the doctor, things had already calmed down again. So that's a picture, and you can see the butterfly lupus rash on my face there. And I've got to tell you, this is how I lived from 14 all the way to about age 40. And I struggled with things in high school. I'm very athletic, and I had to sit out. And if you sit out, your coaches think you're just kind of lazy. One of my best friends said, "You're just trying to ditch school, aren't you?" And I was like, "No, I'm really not trying to ditch school." No one understood how fatigued I really felt and how tired I was all the time. And yet these things kept kind of going on. And I have to tell you, it went on until about 40. And Kent and I, in the meantime, had gotten married and we had kids. And I've got to share with you, my kids really never knew me well. But the next piece of the puzzle for me was looking for a solution in those in-between years. And so I looked at megadoses of isolated vitamins. And I tried herbs. I probably ran up one credit card to about $10,000, just trying to find a solution in those years. And finally at age 40, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis after taking a lot of traditional meds as well. Well, friends, I thought I had tried everything, so I settled on those traditional meds, and I knew that they had really harsh side effects, but I did it because I didn't know I had a lot of options. And I remember even telling my dad, he had cancer, and he knew that the chemo was not curing things, it was just slowing things down. And I said, yeah, Dad, I know my meds aren't really curing anything either. And I just remember having that conversation with him, and how sad that was that both of us knew that what we were doing, we thought that was the only option. But I put it down into that vitamin category, and I didn't eat it regularly. I bought it, put it mostly in my cabinet, and didn't pay attention to anything that she said. And yet I knew she cared for me, and unfortunately, I didn't pay attention because I was sick and I was kind of stubborn. And gotta be honest, when you're sick and tired, you're just sick and tired. And I've got to also share with you that it wasn't Susie, but when I was not well, people were coming out of the woodwork trying to sell me their product. And I was tired of it. So I knew Susie loved me. I loved her. I bought Juice Plus. I put it in my cabinet. When I thought of it, I took it with probably a diet soda, and I went really down a sick, hard health path further and further. I ate donuts or McDonald's almost every morning. My donut shop knew me by name. It was kind of like one of those Cheers moments when Norm walks in and everybody goes, Norm. That's how my life was at the donut shop or McDonald's. I actually had relationships with the people at McDonald's. I know that sounds really sad, but it wasn't that the people eating at McDonald's. I had relationships with the people that worked at McDonald's, and that's kind of a sad place to be. Well, fast forward, I took Juice Plus only sporadically, didn't put a lot of value into it, and then 8 years ago, those harsh side effects caught up with me, and I ended up in the hospital with autoimmune hepatitis due to the drugs I was taking. And in the meantime, I had a gallbladder removal, not with sandstones or sludge, just a very sick organ. I had pancreatitis with stents placed in my common bowel duct at least 3 times, and just kept going down a hard, sick path. Well, I've got to tell you, no one ever asked me, what are you eating or drinking? They just kept giving me more and more meds. And that's kind of sad that I didn't pay attention to it, but I remember getting infusions getting infusions and eating big bags, not the little bags, but the big bags of Skittles or M&Ms. And they never said that sugar that you're eating is feeding inflammation. It's making you sicker. Full hysterectomy, all due to inflammation. Inflammation was rampant in my body. 8 years ago, though, when I was finally brought to this point of, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And in liver shutdown, a friend of mine said to me, if this doesn't work out the way we want it to for you, Carla, we'll let Jack know what a great yaya you were. And Yaya is my grandma name. And to be very honest, if you have a grandchild, you'll do anything for that grandchild, because I didn't want him to hear about his Yaya from stories from other people. I wanted him to hear it from me. And so I took a long look at what I was doing, and this is what I had not been paying attention to. This is what I had been buying but not put any value in. Juice Plus capsules, as you all know here that are on the phone, you're probably familiar with Juice Plus. It's just whole food. I had not been paying attention to that. I put it into that vitamin category. I didn't realize that it had that third-party validation that we all know about, that NSF certification. I didn't put any value in that it had clinical research, because I was kind of one of those snobs that thought they knew everything, and thought that research, you could have research show anything, and we're going to talk about that a little later, but I didn't put value in it. And it's not my friend's fault. It was I own it all, that I just wasn't paying attention. And I love when I look at this picture of what's in Juice Plus. I look at things like, the cherries and the beets and the apples, all those red, dark green things, red, colorful fruits and those dark green vegetables. Those are things I couldn't eat. I didn't realize, I didn't put together that your immune system starts in your gut, and my gut was always sick. I couldn't eat salad. It didn't digest. And so when you have a sick gut, it goes out into all parts of your body, as many of you know. But I look at these plants and I go, wow, kale, I used to tell my kids they didn't have to eat that was just the pretty on the plate. Or I look at those cranberries and I'm like, I used to eat cranberries once a year in Jell-O at Thanksgiving. I mean, isn't that enough? Anyhow, none of my variety looked anything like this. My variety was, are you going to have a cream donut or a donut with sprinkles on it? I mean, that was the variety I had. This is what I didn't pay attention to as well, that fruits and vegetables they really help your cells. It's your cells' first line defense against oxidative stress. I didn't pay attention to any of that. I didn't understand antioxidants. I didn't understand that if you put antioxidants in your body, that it can do things like that apple that you see there. It doesn't age as much as the apple without the antioxidants in it. You know how it is when you put lemon juice on an apple. That's what I'm talking about here. That lemon juice preserves it. And that's what we eat in Juice Plus, are antioxidants. And then I look at this slide and I think of the times that I was eating all of those vitamins. And those vitamins had those micro, just a few of isolated vitamins in it, not that wide variety of micronutrition that we eat when we eat food. And isn't that how God gave us produce in the first place? To eat as food, not to just take the vitamins out and eat in capsules. And yet that's not what I paid attention to. So this is really a story about how I'm owning up to what I didn't pay attention to. But this is the slide where I look and I go, wow, for years I had that, I told you about my attitude about research. And I remember seeing this and seeing the types of places that had done research on Juice Plus. And I had to sit back and be honest, I was in tears. Because when I saw that places like Yale and Vanderbilt, and I live in Houston, Texas, that places like MD Anderson had done research on Juice Plus, and that's what I hadn't paid attention to. Friends, that's when I was in tears, because being sick was hard on my family. It was hard on my marriage. And as I said earlier, it was hard on our finances. And it was all because I just wasn't paying attention to what we really had in our pantry all those years. And so I look at that and I think, a lot of people said, well, our product has research, not like this. And isn't it awesome that we represent a company that has research, that does all of these things? And I love that our research is done on pregnant women. It's been done on younger children. It's been done on people. And it's not borrowed. It's actual research done with Juice Plus. And I love this part of our company that we give so generously to children. And if you don't know about the Children's Health Study, ask the person who invited you to the call this evening, because we are making a difference in kids' lives and in their futures. And then I look at the Juice Plus Complete, and I'm like, the fuel, those macronutrients that we all need. And this is how I start my breakfast and my day every day now, instead of those donuts and that McDonald's that I used to have. I don't know what your favorite complete shake is, but mine this morning consisted of me going out to my tower garden, and I had chard and 3 different kinds of kale, and I had a little bit of pineapple. Oh my goodness, it was the most beautiful color of green. God made the most beautiful colors in nature, didn't he? And that's what I had for breakfast this morning. And now when I think about a donut, I just can't even hardly fathom that. I love that I used to spend $5.14 every morning at McDonald's. And now my Juice Plus costs about the same as a cup of coffee. I mean, goodness gracious. It's inexpensive. You know, my medicines used to be about $5,000 every 2 months. And we thought the Juice Plus was expensive before I started eating it and saw the value of it. Now I look at this and I'm like, this is the least expensive thing I can do to keep myself healthy. And for those of you, I'm sure you know about the Tower Garden, and ours is just gorgeous these days. In fact, it's well past that growth, but those are 2 of my Tower Gardens. And we just accepted the keys to our new condo this morning. And guess what? These Tower Gardens get to go with us. We're so excited. The last piece that I want to share with you is this. You know, after I got better, and by the way, I manage my rheumatoid, lupus, fibromyalgia, all of that with just good eating habits now, and a lot of Juice Plus. And I didn't ever want to tell people about this, though. And I am a little ashamed about that today, because there's so many people that need hope. And so anyhow, I had to learn to live differently once I was better. And that's kind of a challenge for people that are sick and have been sick for a long time, because that's your life. And I had to get used to not scheduling my life just around doctor's visits or when I might feel bad. And I couldn't ever say yes with confidence. And now it's quite the opposite. Anyhow, Sue Cruzy had asked me to come to a St. Louis regional. And our daughter, Allison Funky, yes, I am Allison Funky's mother, and she had asked me to join them there as well. And Allison had decided to join the business after she stayed home with her children, after her second child, and they kind of said, why don't you just come check it out? And I thought, I'm going to find a bunch of rah-rah people, and they're all going to look like a bunch of drones or whatever. Guess what? I found a community that was happy and healthy and professional and giving. And Allison looked at me and said, Mom, you're more like yourself than I've seen you in years. And so I plunked down my $50 very quickly, and I haven't looked back since. And what I have now is I have freedom. We have a house in Missouri. We have a condo in Texas. I get to travel to, for instance, to Florida. You want to go to Florida? Go, of course, I can do that. Now, I used to, and forgive me if this is offensive to anyone, but when I owned my own company and I worked really, really hard, I was a prostitute to my desk. I had to be there. I never got away. And my kids would come home from college and I couldn't leave because that phone was always ringing. Now I have freedom. But the other thing is, there's my Southwest, because I get on, now I walk on to Southwest Airlines to planes, and they go, well, hey, it's good to see you again. That's much better than someone walking into the donut shop and recognizing you, isn't it? One thing, though, that I really love is that we also have some financial options. And we have a son who's planting a church in Austin, and we can afford to give generously to them. But most of all, we get to give hope to people. And that's what I enjoy the most, is giving hope to people like myself that felt like they didn't have options, and now we do. So I've been in the company for 6 years, and last fall in Nashville, I became a national marketing director. I walked the stage as that. Thank you, thank you. Very exciting. I got to stand with my handsome husband, Kent, and tell 7,000 people a little bit about my story. I also got to give all praise and glory to my God, and for that I'm grateful. And here's some of our team that was there to celebrate. But I've got to tell you, this was us up on stage. That the young lady in the lower right-hand corner, that's Allison, and then her handsome husband, Brian, and the glasses next to her, and then Kent and myself, and then our son, Barrett, and his beautiful wife, Krista. And I never thought that this picture would ever be able to be shown, because I didn't know that we'd ever be able to stand intact as a family. See, as I said, those kids never don't know me the way that my kids grew up. And so I look at Jack there in the middle, and I look at Faith to his left, and Blythe to his right, and they are our joy. And that's why I do what I do. But I will tell you something else. The other reason I do what I do is so that more families can stand intact like this. But I'm also sick and tired of 30-year-olds dying of heart attacks, or 30-year-olds, and I have one on my team and one as a customer, that have had both breasts removed due to cancer. Friends, there's way too much pain out there. Cancer, heart disease, diabetes. And so I'm just going to ask you, who do you know that you care enough about that you don't want that to happen to them? I know that I'm not done yet until God takes me home. This message needs to be told every day. And so just who do you know? Who means enough to you to share this with? So that's why I do what I do. Thank you so much for letting me share a little bit about my story, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, am I on mute? Great. So I have a question for you, and I hope it's okay, and it's a quick one because I know we don't have a lot of time, but how would you advise somebody when they're talking to a Carla? Was there anything that somebody could have done earlier to make you open your eyes? Is there anything that you advise people that say, I have friends and they're not listening to me and I don't know what to do?
That's a great question, Nikki, and here's what I'll tell you. First of all, we are not to come into their lives, and I love when Danny Martin says, don't get into the ring with them. Don't do that, because nobody wants to get beat up. They know they're sick, but you just have to love them and gently encourage, and just encourage them to make small changes. But I think my story has changed a little bit in the last couple of years when I've heard people say, I can't give up diet soda, or I can't do this. And I'll be very honest, I have told people, then you're just not sick enough yet. So love them, encourage them, small changes, because people are afraid that this is maybe just one more thing that they might try and it won't work.
So they're afraid it may fail, and they can't bear one more failure. So then how do you take care of yourself? Then how do you discipline your own disappointment when you're dealing with a Carla? What would you tell somebody how to take care of themselves?
Again, small changes. And I guess how are you asking how I would encourage them?
What would you tell the distributor? The distributor's so disappointed they can barely stand it. How does the distributor take care of themselves through that process when they can't make a dent, they can't make a change, and they're going, they can't listen to me and I'm so upset? What would you advise them?
You know, we're just the messenger. We're not the message. I'm going to use an analogy, and I hope this doesn't offend anyone. I'm just going to use it. It's kind of like the gospel. It's our job to tell it, but it's not our job to have people believe. It's our job just to keep telling the story, keep telling the message. It's easy to say, don't be attached to the outcome. However, we can't personally be attached to all the outcomes. Have I cried when I've had doctors tell people not to eat Juice Plus that are going through chemo? Yes. But then I tell people, eat as many of these fruits and vegetables as possible. We as business people, we as distributors, it's just our job to tell the message. And yeah, it hurts, especially when it's a dear friend. But you pick up and you keep going forward, and don't stop, because you never know. It took me 8 years, and now I'm a national marketing director, but it took me 8 years. But I do tell people this. Not if
Are you doing that?
Oh, hold on. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Cancel.
Did that answer your question, Nikki?
Yeah, Carla, and what happened is I unmuted everybody for Sandy, and then that did this screw up. So I'm going to unmute, and I'm going to mute everybody, and if you'd unmute yourself. It's not working. There we go. Nope.
Nikki, did that answer your question?
It did. That was great.
Okay.
That was very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was fantastic, Carla. And I know our time's up, and Sandy's not able to unmute herself, right, Sandy? To thank you. And I know she'd want to say a few more words here, and I'm sure she's completely frustrated because she can't unmute herself. And when I unmute everybody, it's that wild sound. So I'm going to thank you, Sandy. Thank you for arranging for this call. You were so wise to get Carla on to share with us. I so appreciate you, Sandy. You're the best. You're the best supporter. And Carla, that was one of the best stories in terms of, a lot of people tell their stories about health, but weaving it in for all of us to the business. And I know that story really encourages people to be bold and step out. So once again, these are the kind of stories we need to share so that we know that we're on a mission and we can really change the world. And I believe we can.
I do too. That's why I do what I do.
Thank you so much, everyone. And we're going to shut it down. Carla, once again, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Good night,
Thanks.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Night.
Thank you. Good night.